Hi everybody, this is Nick Bottini, the author of Just Play, The Simple Truth Behind Musical Excellence, and this video is all about imposter syndrome. What is it? What can be done about it? And do you even have it? So before we go any further, I want to come clean with you. This video talks a lot about this thing I'm going to be calling imposter syndrome, but I'm not brilliantly happy with the term, and I just want to say that from the outset. Imposter syndrome's a label, and it's a popular label a lot of people use, but I don't like it for a number of reasons. First of all, it can sound like it's a medical condition. It can sound like a genuine problem. Second, it can seem to be something very unique to a person, and that there are some people who have it and other people who don't. And third, it can seem like there's a whole lot of action that needs to be taken in order to be cured of this syndrome. And I don't think any of those things are true. But the reason I'm using the term imposter syndrome in this video is because it's popular, and it's also something that I know that the people in the Just Play community wanted me to speak about. So that's why I'm doing it. So what is imposter syndrome? Let me tell you a story. So back 10-15 years ago, I was in the process of transitioning how I made music. So I trained as a violinist at university and music college, but those of you who've read the book will know that I had a shoulder problem, and it was very painful for me to play the violin for long periods of time. So it didn't make sense to me to pursue a career as a professional violinist. And instead, I was faced with this problem of not being able to play my main instrument. So I decided to switch to the saxophone. I'd learnt the saxophone at school, I'd played it a bit, so I put in, over a period of 5-6 years, a serious amount of practice around my day-to-day work to get my playing skills on the saxophone up to the same kind of level I was playing the violin at. So after I'd been doing lots of performing with amateur groups and pub bands and groups with semi-professional musicians in them, there came an opportunity to step up the level of playing that I was doing, and I got the opportunity to dep in a friend's band that was full of professional musicians. So I arrived at the gig ready to sound check. We went round the band hearing the different performers play, so a bit of vocals, a bit of guitar, a bit of keys, the drummer, the bass, and my chance to play came, and I played a little bit and we checked the levels and what have you. And then we played as a whole band, and I remember being struck by how the whole group sounded. It sounded really professional, it sounded great. So first of all, I was kind of filled with pride and very full of enjoyment as I was playing. And then very soon after that, I noticed these sort of self-doubting, questioning thoughts came to my mind. Am I good enough to be in this band? Will they notice that I'm not really a sax player, but I'm a violinist pretending to be a sax player? Will they think that I'm good enough to be in this band? Are they putting up with me? All these kinds of what you might call negative thoughts. And so when somebody has those kinds of thoughts like that, or that kind of experience, how it's often referred to is imposter syndrome. So an imposter is somebody who's pretending to be something or somebody that they're not. And for me, I felt like I was pretending to be a sax player when really I was a violinist. So what I'll offer you in this video is 5 steps or 5 distinctions that I hope you'll find helpful in your exploration and your journey with what you might call imposter syndrome. Number 1, be honest with yourself. If you're suffering from imposter syndrome, there has to be some kind of story. And if we're denying that there's a story, or we're afraid to even look at that story that we're telling ourselves, then we'll be kind of turning our back on the truth of what it's like to be having that experience. So the first thing is to get honest with yourself about what you're experiencing. Are you actually feeling insecure about this? Are you feeling worried about it? Are you feeling anxious about it? The label's not too important, but looking at your experience, examining the truth of what it's like to be you, is an important starting point, rather than refusing to go there. So it's kind of a matter of owning the problem, or owning the discussion that requires your attention. So if there's a story going on, say if, for example, in my case, I felt like I wasn't really a sax player, I was a violinist, what's the thing that you're afraid of? What are you worried is going to happen? Is it other people's opinions about you? Are you worried that people are going to say nasty things about you? Are you worried that you're going to lose work as a result of this? Are you worried about what it will mean about you as a person, or about who you are? What's really behind this? So be honest with yourself. So number 2, explore what imposter syndrome really is. And by that I mean, what is imposter syndrome, or your story, actually made of? Because it's not made of facts, it's not made of your history, it's not made of your musical training, it's not made of your personality, it's made of thought, it's created, it's an experience. And there's only one place that experience takes place, and that's within that which experiences, within your psychology you might call it, or within your spirit, or within you. However you put that into words, it's a creation, and this is something that I talk about in the book, of course. You cannot experience something which is outside of yourself. So if you're feeling like an imposter, that is an experience that's taking place. It's not a story about you. So there's less on the line than you think there is, and that's well worth your attention. And obviously this is a short video, but give that the attention it needs. My assertion to you is that calling it imposter syndrome, or any kind of story that you've created about why you can't do something, or why you're not entitled to be doing it, is a thought creation. Nothing more, nothing less. And if you know that thought creation essentially is harmless to you, it empowers you to be able to do things you thought you couldn't do, or you were scared of doing. Step 3, know that this kind of experience is a universal experience. So the reason that I don't like this label imposter syndrome is that it sounds like it happens to certain people and not to others. And as far as I can tell, everybody that I've ever met to some degree has this kind of feeling like an imposter experience. They doubt themselves. We have this ability to be outrageously talented and outrageously creative, and yet not always be able to see that. So this step is really about asking yourself the question, what has you think that this experience is anything special to you? It's a universal experience. It's part of the human condition to feel insecurities. So what I often tell myself is, get over yourself. It's that simple. So step 4 is a bit of a reality check about our skills. So say, for example, in my case, when I was moving away from calling myself a violinist and wanting to get more professional gigs as a sax player, let's be honest about the skills that you have, because I don't want to give the impression in this video that just because you no longer feel like an imposter, that means that you can bowl up at any gig or in any performance situation or in any professional situation and already have fully formed the skills that you need. Because in many cases there's a learning process to go on, and if you're, like I was, if you're transitioning from calling yourself a violinist to calling yourself a sax player, my sax playing needed to improve, my knowledge of the repertoire needed to improve. So be honest about the skills that you have, and know that your skills and how you feel about your skills are totally different things. And so the 5th step that I would offer is to explore your true nature. And what I mean by that is, hopefully through these series of steps you'll notice that there is a chink of light between the story that we tell ourselves and the place that the story comes from. Or you might say, how the story is perceived and created. Those two things are not the same. So it's perfectly acceptable for us to get kind of into the detail of our experience, but we often forget that the story is being created by our psychology or by thought, however you want to put that into words. So often what I find with people is that once they realize that there is this gap between the form, if you will, and the formless, the place that it comes from, then it kind of piques people's interest and they want to explore it further. So one way of doing that may be to read Just Play, or to stay in this kind of conversation that we're in the Just Play community, and also in the comments to this video. So if you've got questions about anything that I've put in this video, put them in the comments and be part of the discussion, because as your understanding of this deepens, then the chances of you being stuck by this thing you might call imposter syndrome goes down. So there you have it. There are my 5 distinctions or 5 steps to help you with imposter syndrome. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, and be sure to share and like this video. Thank you very much.